All right, so Scottejaye has uploaded a video going over some really, really big news that came out with Season of Discovery in the last day or so. It's called Big Season of Discovery News Changes and Discussions. We're talking about pre-made Warsong Gold stuff, some other blue posts. Let's see what's going on here.
We're only 1 week into 2024 now, and we're already seeing Blizzard come out and talk about some of the bigger issues in Season of Discovery.
They're back
as
in
well
the
as
office.
making some nice small changes to the existing Phase 1 content, which I find a little bit strange on the basis that when we look at the roadmap, we don't expect to be in Phase 1 for too much longer. Now, on the basis, because
I think Phase 2, looking at this thing, Phase 2 probably comes out late January, maybe early February. 3 or 4 more weeks is my guess.
the new year, it's been a very short week this week. There's not too much to talk about, but there's definitely some big things that are being discussed over on Twitter. Twitter? X? I don't know, whatever it's called. We'll start there. Now, Josh Greenfield, a.k.a. Agrand, has been in a lot of conversation talking about pre-made PvP and how it just sucks to solo queue, and how solo queue just isn't even really an option at the moment if you want to get any wins. Now, Husky actually made notes of how many wins, how many losses, the win percentage, and how many pre-mades he actually came against.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So this guy queued like 150 games, and he was solo queuing. He had 56 wins, 98 losses. His win percentage was 36.36%. He queued into 64 premades and 90 pugs. This is not looking good. This is not. Is this a fun time for a casual player, for a casual solo queue player? No, it is not. You know what's weird? You know what's a great point, actually? Every single other competitive PvP game in the world is solo queue game. It's based off solo queues. Think about that. League of Legends, Dota, every single like first-person shooter game, like the most competitive bracket is always solo queue. StarCraft is solo queue. Like the whole, I guess the whole like group dynamic thing where you're pre-mating in order to stomp people that are not pre-mating. Let's be honest. Why do you pre-mate? The reason why you pre-mate is because you want to stomp people that are not pre-mating, so that you can get the best honor per hour, you can get the best rep per hour, the best whatever per hour. That's why you pre-mate. Because
and if you've done any Warsong Gulch at all, you know as soon as you get in and you see it plagued with hunters and priests, it's probably a pre-made. Agrand's put out 5 points about this. The first one being this is actually a tricky problem with no easy answers. Do you make 2 separate queues? You may scream yes, and maybe it's fine when we only have Warsong Gulch, but when we have all 3 battlegrounds and 2 queues of each, some of these queues may literally never pop. Now,
so if you... I'm going to walk through this logic here real fast. I know this is the first post in the thread of 5, but if you make a non-pre-made queue and a pre-made queue, and the pre-made queues never pop, who cares? You know what that means? That means that no one really cares about pre-mating. What that means is that the only reason people pre-mated was to shit on people that weren't in pre-mades. So if you're like, well, we need to protect the pre-mades privilege of shitting on non-pre-mades, otherwise no one's going to pre-made. It's like, well, I guess then who cares? Who cares then? I guess then no one's going to pre-made. This idea that like the pre-made experience is some epic PvP thing and people really want the awesome PvP experience, that's not why people pre-made. People pre-made because they want to own noobs, right? Because it's the most efficient rep or honor per hour. That's why. The reason why you pre-made is because you're hoping other people don't pre-made. That's why you do it.
Never pop. Now, I do agree to a certain extent, but having 2 queues to me does actually make sense, especially if you was only to do it for Warsong Gulch and Arathi Basin.
Before we move on, I want to say this. This is what I would love to see. Okay, this is my solution to the BG problem. Okay, 2 queues. The first queue is queuing as a group of 1 to 5 people. So this means solo. This is solo, or up to a group of 5. Okay. The second queue is queuing as a group of 6 to 10 people. Okay? That's what they should do. This means that if I'm a solo player, every time I queue as a solo, there's probably going to be a group of 5 people on my team. There will probably be a 5-man pre-made on my team. Also, there will probably be a 5-man pre-made on the opposite team. So this means as a solo player, the rate at which I am encountering pre-mades, capped at 5 now, is the same rate at which I'm having pre-mades on my team. And so this really makes it feel not as bad if you're a solo player, because yeah, you're running into pre-mades some of the time, but also you're having pre-mades on your team some of the time, so it kind of offsets it. And then the other thing, you actually do have kind of a cool PvP back and forth, right? Having 5 solo queuers and a 5-man pre-made versus 5 solo queuers and a 5-man pre-made, that's actually kind of a cool dynamic. But then also, if you're like, oh well, people like to do 10-man pre-mates because it's an awesome PvP experience, let them do it. Put them in their own queue, and then we will really see. We'll really see to the degree to what degree do people really want to have that 10-man epic PvP experience? And I think they don't. I don't think anyone really cares about 10-man premates. A very, very, very tiny small community cares about 10-man premates as a PvP outlet. The reason why people 10-man premade is because they're trying to get the best rates per hour. That's why. That's why they do it. They're not looking for awesome PvP. They're looking for the best rates per hour. And the best rates per hour means getting with 9 of your guildies, getting in a Discord call, getting world busting consumables, and shitting on noobs. That's what it is. And the reality is, most people are solo queuing. It's a terrible experience. It's a terrible BG experience for most people that play this game. And if SOD was designed to be this sort of casual gamer dad, low time investment, just kind of for fun, casual experience, which is what I've been told a million times from Reddit and the forums and the classic developers themselves, and I think that's fine. It can be a casual kind of gamer dad, low time investment experience. Why are you telling these casual gamer dads that whenever they want to do BG, they have to get stuffed by 10 sweaty nerds 65% of the time? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. This is what they should do. Let's see what Egrin goes on to say, though.
Valley will never need it, in my opinion. Yes, you'll still get people doing pre-made AVs, but really that is one you can just jump in solo. But many people in the replies have been saying things like, well, just limit it to 1 party, so you can only queue with 5 people in total rather than 10. Now, I don't know if you remember, but that used to be a thing. You used to only be able to queue your party into a Warsong Gulch. But what did we do? We set up 2 parties. Both party leaders queued at exactly the same time.
Okay. So what do we do about that? We make it so a BG cannot have more than 1 5-man premade in it. Is that a good solution? So we allow 5-man premates, that's fine, right? But only 1 5-man premade per team. That's the rule. Is that not feasible? I think you can probably do that, right?
Q pops at exactly the same time. The odds were pretty good that you're going to be in the same battleground. Now, I know that's not an exact science, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but still, there are ways around it. I personally see the best way of this actually working is going to annoy you when I say it. If you want to have 2 separate queues, the best way to handle that would be Horde can actually come against Horde in pre-mades, and Alliance can come against Alliance. Now, they actually enabled this back in TBC Classic, and if I remember rightly, it was actually pretty well received. In TBC Classic, when they done it, it would try and match you against the opposite faction first. If that was unsuccessful, then it would resort to a same faction battleground. I know many of you will be screaming.
The reason why they did that was to solve a different problem that I think we're not experiencing now. The reason they did that is because there were a ton of people queuing BGs on the Horde and almost no people queuing BGs on the Alliance. So Alliance had instant BG queue pops. Horde had 15-minute BG queue pops. And they said, okay, we have a TBC-induced faction imbalance because all the PvPers went Horde and TBC. So people that want to queue BGs are probably on the Horde. Not as many PvPers were on the Alliance and TBC. This was caused by the racial thing. The undead ratio was really, really good. All the PvPers wanted to be undead. And so that's not a problem we have right now, though, right? Queue times are fine for Horde and Alliance. Seems to be totally fine. So I wouldn't even think about doing that now because that was done in Classic PvC to address a completely different issue that we don't have right now.
Screaming at your monitor at a moment like, no, all this cross-faction rubbish in retail was what's ruined the game. But you would only see it in pre-made versus pre-made, so it's almost just like rated battlegrounds without the rating. Now, if you think this goes against the spirit of Horde versus Alliance and all of that, it's not ranked battlegrounds. These are essentially just friendly battlegrounds. There's no reason it couldn't be classed as a bit of a skirmish, same faction versus same faction.
if there's ever super lopsided queue times where the Alliance has super long queues and the Horde has super fast queues or vice versa, then okay, maybe consider doing this. They did this in Classic TBC, but I just don't think we have that problem right now. It's like talking about this is trying to solve a problem that doesn't actually exist at the moment.
What this would do is actually alleviate the big issue that Agron spoke about in the fact that sometimes you won't have a queue physically pop because there's not enough pre-mades of the opposite faction potentially to actually get it started. You've got to remember this would all...
So he's talking about having same faction or same faction queues for the 10-man bracket specifically, for the 10-man pre-made bracket specifically, if they did do a 10-man bracket for pre-mades. Sure. Okay, I guess if they want to do that.
Will be just in the effort to make sure when you queue, you're not hanging around for ages just because you're joining as a pre-made, because you will be matched up against other pre-mades only. The thing is, what really constitutes a pre-made? Is it having a full group of 10, or would you come against other groups of players if you've got more than 5 in the party? Because if being classed as a pre-made is having a full raid of 10 people, you know what people are going to do? They're just going to queue with 9. So don't get me wrong, like Agron said, there's a lot of things to think about.
I'd have the 1 to 5 bracket and then the 6 to 10 bracket. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And so someone brought up, okay, well, what if I've got 10 people? This is our 10-man Warsaw Gulch pre-made. And we have one group of 5, and we have one group of 3, and then we have one group of 2. And all 10 of us, so 2, 3, 5, that's 10, we're all in a Discord server, and we do a countdown queue. All right, guys, everyone queue. We've got 3 groups, 1 of 2, 1 of 3, 1 of 5. We say, hit the queue button in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, queue! And the party leader of all 3 of those groups queues at the same time, and then we all have the queue pop at the same time. And we say, hey, did you guys have the queue pop? Queue pop, we had the queue pop. All right, hit accept to try to snipe into each other to be on the same team so that still 10 of us are on the same team, and we're sort of abusing that new bracket system to get all 10 of our people in the same game. If you want to do that, someone asked, what's the solution to that? Okay, it is what it is. It's not going to work every single time. It's not surefire. That's actually what people tried to do with the Alterac Valley. This is the Alterac Valley ranking meta back in Phase 2 of Classic WoW 3 or 4 years ago. It didn't work all the time. It had a 50% success rate. You know what? Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Okay, if people really want to try to do that, then whatever. Then let them do that. It might work sometimes. Okay.
So he also said, is it okay for us...
But I still think even though some people might do that sometimes and it might work sometimes, I think probably doing this is still the right move. I think so.
To potentially damage or kill pre-made PvP to make it easier to solo. Will it actually be that much better? I'm concerned that pre-mades are the...
Is it okay for us to potentially damage or kill pre-made PvP to make it easier to solo? Will it actually be that much better? Yes and yes. I'm concerned that pre-mades are the boogeyman here more than the actual problem. What else is the problem? What else would be the problem that we're alluding to here? Is it okay to potentially damage or kill pre-made PvP to make it easier to solo? The fact of the matter is, most people solo. The fact of the matter is, people that are pre-mating are not pre-mating because they want some epic, legendary, YouTube-esque PvP experience. They're doing it because they want the best XP or rep or honor per hour. They're doing it because the reason they pre-made is because they're hoping that they queue into other people that are not pre-mating, so they have easy victories. They're not looking for an epic PvP experience. They're looking for the best rates per hour. And so if you're like, well, should we stop letting... I'm going to use some crazy words here. Should we stop letting the abuser abuse the abused? We need to think about the experience of the abuser. It's like, well, there are it's like, I don't know about that. I don't know how compelling of an argument that is. I don't know about that.
The boogeyman here more than the actual problem. I mean, yeah, that's fair. We're going to moan about something, problem? And if you're going in and losing constantly, sometimes you'll go in and lose, and it might not be a pre-made, but you'd be like, oh, I hate coming against pre-mades, but actually, they were just a lot more organized than your team was, and maybe got lucky by getting so many hunters and...
Who here has queued pre-mades over the last couple of weeks because you're trying to farm your Warsaw Gold Trap or whatever it is you're trying to do, and you have a 10-man pre-made versus a 10-man pre-made? What's the unspoken rule when you have a 10-man pre-made versus a 10-man pre-made? The unspoken rule is whoever gets the first cap wins. Whoever gets first cap, you win, and then the other team just kind of sits back and you let them win. First cap wins. because no one wants to get stuck in a 39-minute long pre-made. And so I know for a fact these 10-man pre-mades are not looking for an epic legendary PvP experience, because whoever gets first cap wins. And then the other team rolls over, okay? This is not about awesome PvP. This is about rates. That's why people pre-made. It's about maximize. Okay, and so it's like, oh, well, we need to maintain the integrity of that 10-man pre-made experience. No one gives a shit about that. No one cares about that. They care about the rates. And if you're one of the 0.1% of people that really, really does care about that legendary 10-man, this alleged legendary 10-man war song meta, then you can do war games. Then there's going to be a separate queue for you. You can coordinate war games and separate queues in the pre-made Discord server. There's going to be a Discord server that's going to pop up. If you really, really care about that, then you can coordinate it and you can set it up if that's something that really is important to you. But the other 99.99% of people, they're going to have fun queuing without you.
Group. He also then said the reality is and will remain that some activities in WoW are just better in a group. Not to say we won't make adjustments. We are actively talking about this internally, basically daily, but it's not a simple problem and it doesn't actually have a simple solution. I am a little bit confused how in one post he's like, it might not be the actual problem, and then in the next post he's like, it's not a simple problem. What is it? His fourth message about this was, we just have to take care because any change we make will be hard/impossible to reverse. In the meantime, I'd encourage anyone struggling to branch out a bit. Premades spin up constantly, and there are Discord set up for this very thing on almost every realm. And yes, that's absolutely true, and if you want a better chance at winning these battlegrounds, then getting in a premade yourself is obviously the answer. The thing I will say, which might sound a bit negative, is me personally...
This is the implicit logic here. Okay, chat. He says, if you want to win, then you should get into a premade. In the meantime, while we figure this out, if you want to win, then my recommendation to you from the... I'm classic developer here. If you want to win, while we figure this out, get into a premade. Okay, why would getting into a premade help you win more? I'm going to walk through this. Why would being in a premade help you win more? Because other people are not premading. Okay, like that, like at a very basic level. The reason why premades win is because other people are not premading, right? That's sort of the problem. Like, this is sort of the problem here.
If I was just sat chilling and watching a bit of Netflix, but I want to just do some PvP at the same time, joining a premade is almost out of the question.
Like, I think it is totally reasonable. Keep in mind, what we've all been told about Season of Discovery is that this is sort of meant to be a casual, non-sweaty, gamer dad, low time investment experience. That being the course of direction for SOD, I think it is totally fair for people to want to be able to queue a BG without spending 30 minutes putting a premade together. I think it is totally reasonable for an average guy to want to say, hey, I'm in the mood to queue Warsong Gulch and have a fun time, right? Rather than, I want to queue Warsong Gulch, all right, let me go into the Premade Discord. I need to link them my Warcraft logs sheets. They can see if my gear is enchanted. I need to hop on a voice call. I need to wait for the leader to put the group together. And then they're already in a game, so I need to wait for them to get out of the game they're currently in, and it's going to take them 4 more minutes. So I'm sitting here, and it's like, I just want to queue Warsong Gulch, right? I think that's totally fair. I think it's totally fair.
Because...
Maybe I'm just like a hyper boomer casual, but I think the whole premade thing is causing a lot of damage. I think the whole 10-man premade thing is causing a lot of damage.
They're going to expect you on Discord, full focus. That makes me sound bad that I'm not fully focusing in Battlegrounds, but you know what I mean. They'd expect you to be on Discord and taking it super seriously, but maybe you just want to chill, do some PvP, and watch some Netflix or something, you know. So I don't think just joining premades is the answer, because that then starts to ruin the experience for everybody else. That actually makes it worse. If you want to win, go and join premades. So now all there's going to be is premades. So people who don't want to do that literally will just not PvP. So whilst that's good advice, going onto Discord and joining premades, that is not the answer to the problem. And the last one is, might not be what you want to hear, and that's fair, but it's a viable option. You may find that you have a lot more fun in a group and may make some new friends along the way. So obviously that will be in responses to people that have commented about his last one, where he's saying to join premades, you know, using Discord. Now, quite honestly, I've looked through so many of these responses and I haven't responded myself, but a lot of people are saying similar things. It's class balance. It's the fact that priests and hunters are so overpowered. Make it so only 5 people can join at a time, which I've already said comes with its own problems. People saying it's an MMO, but then you want to queue solo. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's like saying you're playing a role-playing game, so you have to role-play. This one particular comment really sticks out to me because the queues will always be dead once AV's a thing outside of their weekends. Making them playable beforehand should be a thing before that. And this is actually something that I wanted to say earlier on in the video, but thought might rub people up the wrong way. But this is phase 1. It's all about Warsong Gulch. We're getting Warsong Gulch rep from Ashenvale. So actually just splitting it while it's the most popular and only battleground to do, I think makes sense, because if they go along the same lines, then, you know, maybe at level 40, it's a Raffi Basin, and we're going to be getting a Raffi Basin rep from like Stranglethorn Val, which is going to be the PvP area, in which case most people are just going to be doing AB, and Warsong Gulch will barely be touched, at which point then whatever.
That is
but at
true.
the moment, when it's so popular and there's nothing to do really outside of your 20-minute BFD, and then you're going in and doing Warsong Gulch and maybe your Ashenvale event, which lasts about 30 seconds, I think it's important to be encouraging people to go in and know that they're going to have a good time in Warsong Gulch, rather than...
I really think this is a desire of the many versus a desire of the few. If I'm a game developer and I identify, okay, like 5% of my player base are super sweaty, turbo nerd PvPers, and 95% of people are just people that want to have like a low-key fun time queuing a BG and not really have to worry about the overhead of putting together a pre-made and do, like, I'm going to choose to cater to the 95% if I'm the game developer. And I think that probably is about what it is.
If you haven't got a pre-made, you cannot win. That's enough about pre-mades, but that's what the devs have got to say about it. Next up's just a minor one, but you may have noticed that there was a hotfix for Boon of Blackfathom. So the Boon of Blackfathom is no longer affecting pets. What Blizzard have said about this is we're essentially removing the ability for pets to get the boon.
I see this comment here. It says, the real dilemma is that some people won't play if they can't pre-made, but there aren't enough people in that category to support a pre-made versus pre-made bracket. Okay, so we have to determine, I guess we can just take a guess. How many people won't ever play? And I think you're right. How many people won't ever play if they can't pre-made? If there's like a separate pre-made queue, versus how many people won't play because they're sick and tired of pre-mades, right? And I think the people that are just not PvPing or quitting the game entirely because they're sick and tired of pre-mades is way more people are just sick of pre-mades than people that love pre-mades and are not going to play unless they can pre-made, right? And so what I would say, it's like a need of the many versus need of the few thing. I would say if you're a super turbo PvPer guy and you love 10-man pre-mades, I would say that I think there should be separate chat channels or Discord servers where people can organize those pre-mades. We can say, all right, this pre-made 10-man Discord is going to have a war game weekend, and for this 6-hour window on Saturday afternoon, this is when we're all going to be queuing our 10-man pre-mades, and that's when we're going to do it, right? I think that's probably the best solution. And then outside of that, it's people having a super fun time queuing solo or in groups of 5 at most, which I think is what they should do.
Doing a Blackfathom for now that pets scale with stats, allowing them to get certain world buffs would effectively let them double dip on these effects and gain far more damage than intended. We'll continue to review this as we move through the content phases and make adjustments to how world buffs interact with pets as needed. So there's 2 things around these sort of changes. One's good, one's bad. The bad thing is I feel like too little too late. You know,
This solution, this is on a different topic. There was a blue post yesterday. They said that the Boon of Blackfathom world buff is no longer applying to pets. Well, not only hunters have pets, warlocks have pets too. Warlocks are mediocre, middle-of-the-road DPS. Hunters are top DPS, or I think they're like number 3 or number 2 DPS, actually, but they're really, really good. And so you are, in a weird way, you're attempting to nerf hunter DPS whilst also nerfing warlock DPS, which totally does not need to be nerfed. It really, really does not. I can take a minute to show you this. Warcraft Logs Classic. I'll pull it up here and I'll give you kind of a visual of how the DPS classes are shaking out. I can do boss damage. I can do, I think it's statistics. Okay, so Hunter is the second highest DPS across all percentiles. There's Hunter. Warlock is the 5th. So we're saying in an attempt to bring down Hunters, we're also going to inadvertently bring down Warlocks. I think that probably bringing down Hunters maybe is a good goal. I don't know. But I think they did it in kind of a reckless way. That's what I would say.
Doing it right now is fairly pointless. I would have probably put this change in at the start of Phase 2. You know, let people just enjoy the last few weeks, because there's probably not that long left of Phase 1. Let people enjoy the last few weeks, you know. But the good thing is the fact that they are making changes, even this close to Phase 2. So when Phase 2 comes out, and there's going to be a lot wrong, you've got to remember, when we're going from 25 to 40, and at level 40, there is so much content unlocked, you know, in terms of what dungeons you can get into that might be a bit too high for you. We're going to have...
I think it is possible that Phase 2 of SOD is going to be the most fun phase. I really think Phase 2 is going to be a lot of fun. I think it has very high potential.
Gnome Ragona's the raid. There's access to items that reduce armor of targets and things like that, which we're going to find ways of cheesing. There's just a lot more scope for us to do crazy things. So I think the fact that we're seeing changes even this close to the end of Phase 1 is a really good sign of what's to come in the future. But if you play a hunter, it's probably been a bit annoying because you or your pet has been changed on a weekly basis pretty much since launch. Real quick one, and not really a lot to say.
True.
We knew about this before.
Before the Wind Serpent meta, what was it? It was the Scorpion meta, and then they super nerfed Scorpions.
For Christmas, but Blizzard have added 2 additional spirit healers to be present during the battle for Ashenvale in the northwest of the zone. Now, this does only say during the battle for Ashenvale, so actually they're not going to be there all the time, so you're not going to be able to use them for logout skips, which I love so much and talk about in almost every video. It does just mean, though, if you die up near Zoram Strand, you haven't got a 10-minute run back to where you was fighting the boss. I put a video out solely about this yesterday, but it's actually been posted by Wowhead now, so I just wanted to confirm that it is actually factually accurate, because Warcraft Logs have tweeted it as well. All of the logs with Mechanical Grinch, Spiked Collar, and Dog Whistle are going to be invalidated.
This is incredibly frustrating. The Grinch has been in the game for 3 or 4 weeks now. It was tied to the holiday, the Christmas event, and so people have been using the Grinch inside of their raids. The Grinch was doing like what, 50 DPS. It was really good damage, and so all the DPS players were having the Grinch, and they were summoning it to nuke bosses down, and they were farming their parses. And after 3 or 4 weeks of this Grinch, Warcraft Logs has conducted a vote, and they've decided that, okay, the Grinch is going to not be allowed going forward if you still have one, and it's going to also invalidate every single log over the last 3 weeks that Grinch has been a part of. So if you care about parses, all of your parses for 6 or 7 lockouts are invalidated. If you have really tried to pump parses in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, gone, nuked. Because and so what I'm saying is kind of dumb. It took them 3 or 4 weeks to decide that, hey, maybe having a level 58 summonable holiday pet in the level 25 Black Fathom Depths parsing meta is not a good idea. Yeah, maybe we should let people vote on this. And then they decided to let people vote, and guess what? People unanimously decided this is stupid. We don't want this. Why did it take Warcraft Logs 3 weeks to put the vote up? I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't know.
If we go into the rankings on an individual boss where I know for a fact one of us used a Mechanical Grinch, so let's say Lorgus Jet here, you can see everybody's log was invalidated, and not everybody was using it, obviously. So if you've got loads of 99s with Mechanical Grinch, say goodbye to them. They've probably gone already, actually. Now, this is a bit of a weird one, and I know there'll be many of you that really just don't care about parsing and logs because you're like, man, it's Black Fathom Deeps. You know, it's Phase 1, we're level 25, who cares? There is a lot of people that do care. So now the pets can't get the boon. Should they be invalidated as well? I shouldn't have said that. But it's a fair point. And then the last one is just actually about the logs.
Yeah,
the only reason I really wanted to bring it up is because nothing's really changed. So this is actually just for the entire run, whereas this one is just damage done to bosses. And as I say, this is at the 95th percentile. Now, when we think about all of the changes that priests have gone through, Ellie Shamans, Balanced Druids, they're still really struggling to compete with the top dogs. And now it kind of makes sense to have warriors that high on the basis they get a big epic sword. Rogues, we know, are always going to perform well. It's nice to see hunters up there, but again, hunters getting an epic crossbow is going to make a big difference.
It is like really funny that so much attention has been devoted to things like hunters and nerfing hunters and stuff, when like zero attention has been given to buffing priests or frost mages. You know, okay, yeah, you can nerf hunters a little bit, but what about like giving priests like a 20% buff or frost mages a big buff? I don't know. It's like at least think about these guys a little bit, dude. Shit.
Whereas the casters, the benefit they're going to get from the epic staff is just not as noticeable at this level. I've not got a lot to say about this other than the fact that all of the changes that these casters have been getting to try and help them out a bit really hasn't been big enough. But it's only phase 1. In phase 2, it could be completely different. Who knows? We could see all the casters absolutely pumping and all of the physical damage dealers fall down a little bit, because a lot of these classes do come online with their big talents by level 40. I've got to be honest, I don't actually see that happening. I still think we're going to see warriors and rogues and hunters dominating for pretty much the whole of Season of Discovery, but I do sit here hoping to be proved wrong. And that's the news this week that you might have missed. If you enjoyed the video, as always, be sure to like and subscribe. Consider joining the channel as a member.
It was a good video. I have to say, I like Scottejaye's videos. I really disagree with the pre-made logic. The pre-made logic here about, oh, well, we need to think about the poor 10-man pre-mades. Oh, my 10-man pre-mades. Someone please has got to think about my 10-man pre-mades. They're not going to... Yeah, I don't care. I don't give a shit about that. I don't care about that at all. No, I do give a shit about that. Put them in their own queue and they can do war games if they want. Really, I think, but considering most people don't care about the pre-made thing, and they're just sick of getting owned by, like, to me, it's such a clear decision. It's such a clear decision. Anyway, great video, awesome video. Let me link this out. Drop a comment, drop a like, awesome.